Hello there. Oh, crooked camera. There we go. So, hello. Welcome to eclipse season. So, before I get going on what eclipses mean, as well as this rather complex chart this month, I would like to encourage you to like and subscribe and share. Sharing makes me really happy. So, if you like my videos, those of you who watch regularly, I hope you share them somewhere. And if not, welcome. We deep dive here into the astrology chart of the new moons and the full moons. And I do tarot to see extra details and aspects of this time. And then you will have a reading for your sign. And those will be marked below in the comments if you want to dash forward and see what your sign says first, or along the way, or your rising sign. Even better, look at your sun, moon, and rising. And all three of those together should give you a pretty good idea what's going on for you. So we have two eclipses coming, September 17th and October 2nd, in very different signs. One is lunar, one is solar, which is how it goes. And then sometimes there's one more. But I have checked and there is not. So we've got two. So this means this little window of time, September 17th to October 2nd, give or take a few days, might be a very pivotal, waking up, shaking up time in your lives or in and around us, because eclipses bring things to light that were previously unseen or maybe suppressed, ignored. Think about it as like, okay, you see my face and now something's eclipsing it and now it's back. Something you feel you lost. Oh, no, I didn't. There it is. Something I don't want to see. Oh, look, wonderful. It's gone. Oh, no, there it still is. You know, that's sort of an eclipse in a nutshell for you. So whatever's coming up for you at this time in the next few weeks is pivotal. How you decide to conduct yourself, whether you decide to stay put or move forward, and in what way. And that's a big deal. There's a lot of change to come in the next few weeks. The other thing about this current chart is it's quite complex. You're going to see in a minute when I tell you. There are some significant retrogrades going on. There are retrogrades at very important degrees. Mars has changed signs, and it's going to stick around now in Cancer up until February. So we better understand what Mars in Cancer really is all about. And of course, the big one is this last pass of Pluto, the retrograde of Pluto. So up until November 19th, when it goes direct, and then it will go into Aquarius for 20 years. So this is the last time we have Pluto in Capricorn for another 50 years. So whatever is coming back up again, where you feel like, oh no, not this again, it's very likely because of the closure of this Pluto cycle in Capricorn. So things get heightened to that critical mass, where you can no longer keep doing what you're doing, saying what you were saying, avoiding what you were avoiding. So, right, that can be intense, but it can also be liberating. So it really depends on your level of self-awareness and your willingness to go forward, your courage. So if something comes back and you're like, wow, I didn't think I'd have to be dealing with that again. A lot of people might feel victimized or feel like, oh, see, nothing's going to change ever. Other people are going to be, really? I thought I put that away. Why is that back? Flick. And other people are going to be just somewhere in between, mulling things over, trying to figure it all out, trying to understand it, trying to make the best decisions, trying to understand, do I you know, maybe it's, if it's relationship, do I make amends and take this person back, or is it done? That's a very retrograde type of thing. There's so many ways it could play out, but it's going to be the most intense if you're a cardinal sign, which is Capricorn, Aries, Cancer, and Libra, because it's revisiting you. It's been 16 years of a certain area of your life that's been under intense renovations, sort of like when they rip up the road, they repave it, and then they've got to dig it up again because they missed something, and then they pave it back, and then they dig it up again a couple of years later because somebody else got money to do something else to the road, and then they pave it back, and you're wondering, is this ever going to end? That's how Pluto probably has felt in some area of your life. Like, can we just get this over now? So I do want to tell you, Cancers, Libras, Aries, Capricorns, it's almost over, okay? It really is. You're going to feel so liberated once it moves into Aquarius. Next, it's time to go forward. It's almost done. So whatever comes up, you really must be strong, courageous, ethical, and do that last little bit that maybe wasn't done. For the other signs, of course, Pluto's been, visiting you, all of us, in some area of our lives. So we're all going to feel it to some degree. It's just the most intense for the other cardinal signs because it's squaring off. So it's challenging and conflictual. Others, it's trine. So it's like, oh, I don't mind this so much, Virgo, Taurus. It's been working for me. Okay. But now it's going to shift to Aquarius, where it doesn't work so much for Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. It's going to be for you now 20 years of dealing with major renovations to your life. So it's really worth understanding the Pluto cycle because it's so long. If you can make peace, like, not everything is meant to be quick and easy to get over or fix or solve. We do come here with certain life lessons that take years and years, if not a lifetime. And that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or that you're doing anything wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? Astrology, I find, helps us make peace with, oh, okay, this is what I signed up for karmically. This is what I came here to learn. So we're all doing it somewhere. All right, let's take a look at this chart now. Oh, one more thing. Silly me. My third book just came out, and I'm very happy. Divination Rules. 100 Tips for Flawless Fortune Telling. Well, a lot of my book is talking about ethics of giving readings. For example, asking consent. Very big one. Other things are going into, like, astrology transits can be predictive. Yes, they can. Your birth time is essential for your chart calculation. Holding your pendulum gently in one hand while dangling it in the other palm. Instructions on how to use a pendulum without influencing it. Flower meanings, omens in falling leaves, everything. Animals, nature, plants, gemstones, magic 8-ball. It's all in there. It's all in there. There's 100 different things on how we get our answers, how we find signs, what they were used for. So I find it an exciting book as far as conversation goes, because every culture has some form of divination that they used or maybe still do use. And then based on religious, history, some were banned, some were separated from church, from religion, some were separated from science, some weren't. Some are seen as evil, some are okay. Depends where you are, where you're from, but everyone around the world has some form of divination. So I will put links to my interview with Victor Furman from Om Times Radio in New York City. I'll put the link to that in my comments today if you want to hear them, if you want to hear it, and I will put it up on YouTube soon. Okay, let's take a look at this chart now. So you can probably tell right now by all of the aspect lines that this is a complex chart. For those of you that follow me, you know how we divide the chart, where the planets fall, whether it's upper, lower, right or left makes a big difference. And this one is fairly balanced. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 below the horizon. So 7 above. And we have 4 on the side of collaboration. And we have 7 on the side of self-determination. So it's fairly balanced. It's just that there's so many aspect lines. Now, if you look carefully, the best aspect in this whole thing is a grand trine. You see the blue triangle? So the sun at 25 Virgo, making a trine with Uranus, 27 Taurus, and that Pluto, 29 Capricorn. So this grand Earth trine is a big part of this lunar eclipse. Where we see the conflicts, because it's a full moon, it's always opposite. It's opposite the moon over here. But look what else it's opposite, Neptune at the same time. That's where this is going to get tricky, folks. The moon in Pisces is already a daydreamer. It's already a mystic, a psychic. It already has a sense of greater consciousness and oneness with all people, trees, plants, stars. So that's a beautiful thing. And it's usually a very accepting moon. It's usually a very psychic moon. They just sort of, well, they're just, yeah, that's them. They're just being them. I see right through it and I accept it. Okay. Just like a cat. Well, it's a cat. It's just being a cat. So why get agitated? They just see very clearly and accept. Whereas Virgo is here to discern. Virgo is here to organize the closet. Virgo is here to name every plant and flower and weed and write it down. Virgo's here to itemize things so that we keep track of everything in a very diligent way so that we are not in any kind of illusion or deception about what is. And so this is why Virgos will tend to point out stuff and name things and label things, and or maybe put things in a little box or try to say, oh, well, that's because it's here to almost write like the encyclopedia of life and make it pure and efficient. The moon in Pisces is here to connect on a psychic level, on a heart level with everything. So why would it itemize anything? Why does it want to break it down and say, well, that's because of that, and that's this, and that's this? I'm going to drive them crazy. Because they'll be like, it transcends all that. It doesn't matter if that's a daffodil and that's a crocus. They're all beautiful flowers. They're all part of nature. We're connected to all of it. Why do I have to worry whether I had the right name of that thing or not? So you can see how both are valid. But these are the things that are at odds. And normally, if there's no other planets that are exacerbating that, that would already be enough of a tension right there. But we've got Neptune clouding the moon. Neptune wants to add even more wistfulness even more dreaminess, even more magic and transcendence and idealism. So what we run the risk of when Moon and Neptune are together in Pisces, you will either see some of the greatest beautiful acts of altruism you've ever seen in your life. That's the height of it. That's the height of it. You also could see some of the greatest escapism and self-delusion you've ever seen as well. And that's where we have to come back to Virgo to save us from that in this case, because that's the most harmonious aspect, is aligning with the Earth trine, Uranus, Pluto, and Sun in Earth. The only way to break things down, if you feel like, did I just have the most romantic night of my entire life? Is this person for real? That would be the romantic way that Moon and Neptune. You would think you have met an angel or a goddess or a king with that aspect. If you fall in love under this aspect, this person will be just the most best, perfect, amazing. You're so emotional. You're so taken away. You feel larger than life. You can't believe that there's all of this magic in the world because of this person. Okay. Sometimes you might be right, but a lot of the time it's going to be your own projection or fantasy. And maybe this person is putting on a very beautiful mask that's very hard to see through with Moon Neptune. That's where Virgo has to come in and say, wait a second. Okay, he's the best thing ever. Why didn't he call you when he said exactly? Where does he work? How come he didn't tell you where he worked? You know what I mean? That's where the Virgo comes in and just like, and of course, if you're in that state and you think, no, this is just the best feeling ever. No, I'm finally swept away. I'm finally getting the magic job offer. I'm whatever it is that you think is just the best thing ever. And then Virgo comes along and goes, really? But it also could save you from the pitfalls of your own idealism and delusion. Okay. That's just the worst case scenario. Doesn't mean it plays out like that for everybody. Because it's an eclipse. Oh boy. Oh boy. Right? With that going on and an eclipse. Ooh. I would expect there's going to be a lot of smoke and mirrors in our that we see, of course, in the news, but also in our personal lives, like people that just, you what? I thought you were, that's not who I thought you were. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Something's resolved here. I get, oh, something comes to light. Now I understand. Or it can set the tone for outright deceptions and scams, and be careful under this little few days influence. Okay. If you feel like everything is magic and great, don't start spending crazy amounts of money or booking trips with people you don't know, or things where you could really be shocked if it's not how you thought it was promised. Use your earth side here. Use all this earthiness to go, all right, if it's truly magical and wonderful, it will also check out on the reality plane. No, he did tell me where he worked. He works here. He showed me. I've visited him at work. Oh, okay then. So he is who he says he is. Or he had something legitimate. It's only happened once with the not calling. Okay then. If the practical side checks out, or whether it's it could be a job offer, could be a house you're buying, just like, we don't want to be like, whoa, it's all gonna work out. Whoa, I don't have to, I can just, oh, I'm on a high. I don't have to check the papers. I don't have to read the bottom line. No, yes, you do. Yes, you do. So that's going to be a bit tough if that's in the air. So we're all maybe tested in some sort of escapism or self-delusion, and we'll all have to coach ourselves back into practical, just to check that, you know, checks and balances, as they say. Let's take a look at another thing that's fairly close to that moon as well, is Saturn, even though it's 10 degrees. Not really conjunct, but close enough. So Saturn does put a bit more of a reality check, a damper on any heightened emotion or magical thinking. But it's still not the strongest place to be having Saturn as far as getting you grounded. It's more, how would you describe that? Saturn, Moon, Neptune, so close together. It would feel like a very karmic lesson, honestly. Something where you want to make sure that you are not being played with or duped in some way, or doing it to yourself. So let's see what other aspects we have going on. So let's come down here with another positive aspect. Here we have Saturn with Mars in a trine. Saturn's in Pisces, Mars is in Cancer now. So Mars in Cancer, what is that? Well, we just had several, a few months of Mars in Gemini, which I'd been talking about, was extremely social, multitasking, doing 15 things at once, meeting all kinds of people, networking or expansion. And at the worst side of it, scatter, gossip, and two-facedness. So Mars moves into Cancer, where it is not comfortable. It's in its, I think it's its fall or its detriment. I think it's the fall. So it's not in the best sign, which doesn't bring out the best behavior when it comes to being assertive, which Mars is supposed to be, a planet of action. And then you put it in Cancer and it becomes all mushy and emotional, and it hates direct conflict. So how does Mars in Cancer go about getting what it wants? With emotion, with passive aggressive behavior, with skirting around the issue to come around later and go, but not telling you directly. This is going to be extremely frustrating at times. Now, it does have good sides, but I'm just warning you of the bad ones. Mars in Cancer people are probably going to be a lot more emotional, and maybe even too much, like over the top emotional. They could be very overly sentimentalizing the past. They might be just sort of almost gushing when they speak. It's like, tone it down. It's just, oh no, I just love what you did there. It's so, oh, and it's like, calm down there. All I did was like bake muffins for the school. It's muffins. It's not like a religious experience. So they can be a little over the top emotionally, sentimentally. And then sometimes that's a nice thing. Sometimes that's nice that Mars in Cancer wants to commemorate the past, think about the family, bring up the old times, connect, on that nostalgia that can be a very bonding thing. It's only if it goes too far. But in general, when it comes to how it acts and reacts, because it doesn't like direct conflict, Mars in Cancer is going to be sort of emotionally manipulative at times. So let's say, I don't know, you come in after work, and your partner wished that you had, I don't know, done the dishes or started dinner. Instead of saying, hey, I thought you were doing the dishes today. Do you mind? they'll be like, and you're like, what? What's wrong? No, nothing. Well, clearly something's wrong. Why are you sighing? Well, like you were supposed to do the dishes. You see the difference? How emotionally manipulative that is compared to like asking directly. So we'll see some of that in the air. And in other ways, that idea of like going sideways and not being too direct, like a blunt object, I suppose it can be helpful if it's in the nurturing sense, because sometimes Mars in Cancer could be like very parental and nurturing. So if they're patient and they're waiting for things to sort of take their own course, or they're sort of steering things a certain way, they're going to be very good at it, is my point. And it could be done for good, and it can be done for manipulation. It's trine Saturn, so that should give it a little bit of a better outcome than if it was squaring off, but it is squaring off with the moon and Neptune, which is usually a red flag, once again, of deception and hiding things, and just generally being sort of covert or nasty. So you want to be aware of that. So if you're in this closure phase with Pluto in some way, this eclipse might not be the best time to reach out and have that good long chat with someone that it's been long overdue. It might be best to sort of wait till this eclipse is done. See what it brings up before you open up all of that stuff under these influences. And also Mars is squaring off with the South Node in Libra, and squaring off with the North Node in Aries. So for now, because of those degrees, it's sort of pulling us away from focusing on these other bigger directions that we need to be going in. It might sort of feel like it's stalling us. You might have had that feeling. Now, Mars will be opposite Pluto at a certain point, which will be sort of a big deal. However, I have to check my books, because Pluto will go into Aquarius November 19th. Mars might not hit the end degrees and actually square until next year. Probably next winter or spring, but Mars opposite Pluto is usually a pretty momentous type of event. So we won't worry about that too much yet, but it is there. What else is a nice aspect here is you've got Jupiter still in Gemini, which I described the Gemini qualities, and it is trine Venus in Libra. So there's still a very lovely social aspect in the air. There's still a lot of talking, a lot of exchanging, a lot of creativity in the air. That's a great place to focus too, if that's where you're comfortable. So collaborations, like we said, going out to new places, meeting new people, working with new people, sharing ideas. Writing is another thing with air signs. Could be good for writing. So good for school. So that's a nice part of it. However, Jupiter is also squaring off with a few things here. Yeah, it's officially squaring Saturn, the moon, and Neptune. And it's also squaring Mercury and the sun. So this is, again, a bit tricky with this eclipse. What did we say about Gemini? Diversifying, multitasking, lots of people in your roster, networking all the time, starting 10 new projects at once, but also could be gossipy, could be sort of, wearing a mask with you and then being somebody different with other people. That's an issue now if that side is still heightened and it's trying to navigate all of these covert and conflictual dynamics with keeping things real, you know, trying to get to the bottom of things. Jupiter in Gemini could just tell stories in any direction, or it could spill the beans in any direction and actually make some of this worse. Once in a while, maybe a Jupiter in Gemini will be like a clerica agent and say, no, actually, oh, that's what happened, and that's, these people are doing this, and that's why, and they might resolve things for people and go, oh, this is why, and they go, oh, I feel better now, I have a reason. But a lot of the time, a lot of that talking might just sort of stir the pot. And yeah. So again, I just really want to caution everybody with getting too carried away about anything over this eclipse. Anything where you think some magic bullet is going to come and launch you into a new life or a new relationship or out of something that you like, a rescuing you, or you got to be careful and stay grounded. Venus is also square Pluto up here, which can be very intense, especially with women. And it might play out as we're already seeing with American politics, a lot of issues coming to the fore about women's issues. And this would tell me that women are definitely prepared to fight back when you've got Venus square Pluto. It's not to be messed with right now. And that's interesting because Venus will move into Scorpio by the time they get to the election, which is fierce, and would definitely be on the side of speaking about the tough topics, the taboo topics. So this is going to be interesting. With Pluto there, things could become, you know, more heightened and mobilized as well. In our little lives, Venus square Pluto could just bring some frustration, could bring some jealousies, some power struggles as you're trying to move ahead with your desires. But again, that square is not going to last forever. It's for now. It'll move out of squaring fairly soon. So, and lastly, that same Venus I see is opposite Chiron in Aries. So yeah, I mean, Jupiter's helping Venus. It's helping us get what we want, but there's some things challenging us on getting what we want as well. And with Venus and Libra, people want peace, and they want people to get along, and they cheer for the underdog, and they want things to be beautiful and fair. And so there's some challenges to that, as always, but particularly challenging. Yeah. And then some of the others are more minor aspects that are, oh no, the Sun and Uranus had talked about that. The most productive thing in the chart is the Earth trine, and that means to me, err on the practical stuff, get the material things done, you know, the tangibles, not the emotions. You can still move mountains for now if you're an earth sign, and that energy is working with you if you want to build something or increase your finances, or just get super practical about whatever it is you've got going on around your home. And I think it's important to err on that side, because there are so many emotionally conflicting things going on in this chart. So let's take a look now at the tarot. It's so nice that it's like mid-September and it feels like a hot summer day here. I wish the pool was still open though. All right, let's take a look if the tarot gives us any more clarity on what's going on, what we need to look forward to or be alerted to. during this eclipse. So the first card here is the Four of Discs or Pentacles. So that's a Capricorn card right there. It says power. So it's like an aerial view of a castle, if you can see that. 4 towers, the doorway, the gateway, the moat. Who has access to your castle? Have you, become a fortress? Or do you need one? Do you need to be safe inside the walls of a castle or a home or a fortress? Or have you just become so squared off, literally, that it's become isolating and lonely? Four of discs is usually like good for work and job security and home security and stuff. What I'm hearing with this, for some of you, is to protect your assets. That's another thing, okay, that I'm not so well versed because I don't follow the stock market. But when you get an eclipse and you get all of this emotionality and all of this like heightened, frenzy and ding, 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 I'm hearing like we could see some weird fluctuations on the stock market. So yes, protect your assets. The next card is the Witch, or the Art card. So the alchemy, the trusting the timing, the mixing of elements together, the recipe, the potion. It's a matter of whatever you're working on, everything has a higher timing and it's not yours. Unfortunately, we can't control lots of things. So you control your part of it, but there's also a need for patience with this card. Sometimes everybody just wants everything so instantaneously. And if they don't get it, they think that they're defeated and as if there's one chance and you missed the arrow and that's it, life's over. But most of life is a long process and it's a mix of many things. And that can apply to your work and also to your relationships. Is it really the right timing for everyone, not just for you? You might have like put out the best offer to somebody or with your business or your work, and it's just not the right time. And so people are not grabbing it. They're not coming to your party or they're not buying your stuff. Sometimes it's a conversation that you want to have. You want to clear the air, you want answers, and you think it's time to just go up and be really honest and upfront. And then but for them, it's not the right timing. It's going to backfire. And other people that are affected by both of you having said conversation have to be considered. With the Art card, it's a mix of everybody involved. And so the timing factor is really important right now with whatever you're doing. Try to trust your gut on, is this the right time? Don't feel bad if it's like you want it to be now and you're feeling like it's not now. Maybe you feel like, I don't know why, but I think by the middle of October, it's going to be time for that. Or I don't know why, but I'm getting a feeling of like early next year would be a better time or something. And then honor what you get, what you feel intuitively. And the last card is lovely. That's Peace, the Moon in Libra. So there is a chance for something to really work out and find that harmony or that coming together again or that amends. or that laying down of swords. So that's really lovely. But again, it's these cards like power, art, and peace. So what stands between this power, it's like, well, if I just work at it and I do it this way, this should be the result because I've put in, you know, and you sort of slap your model on something. And sometimes that works, but in this case, it's saying no. It could totally misfire, no matter how great it is. Any entrepreneur will tell you they've launched things that flunk. And then sometimes that same thing comes back and has a demand later that you could not have controlled because so many things are timing. So just make sure whatever it is you're wanting to progress with, that you're not sort of being, you know, my way or the highway pushing, and that you're honoring the actual timing. And then you're going to get a very good result. So that's a nice message for this. All right. Let's take a look at readings for the sign, for your sign. Oh, what should the question be? Because it's quite, like I said, quite a complex chart. I guess we'll ask, are there any surprises in the air for your sign? Anything that could come and surprise you in a good way or shock you? Or that Moon, Neptune, Mars factor, is there anything lurking that you're not aware of? Any surprises, anything you need to be aware of? All right, so anything you need to suddenly be aware of, Aries. I've got to close these curtains again. The sun is getting in the way of me reading. All right, there we go. So we've got the Eight of Cups, which is Saturn and Pisces, which is what it's in the sky right now. You have to be a little careful that maybe this full moon eclipse is not going to bring out some depression, or, and if it's not yours, people around you might be feeling quite depressed. And I get a feeling you should be a little careful of how close you get to that situation that somebody else is in, that, or not taking on their mental state too much. Try to like be a, you know, you can be helpful and listen, but you have to always remain a little bit removed in order to be effective and help somebody. It's not going to help you if somebody's down and you start feeling so down and so bad for them. You know, this is like being compassionate, yes, but don't bleed for somebody else. Do you know? It's a difficult distinction, but and if it's you who's feeling this way, you may need to reach out to somebody besides just your friends. You might need a little more help than that. Depends if this is one, you know, 1 or 2 nights, or whether you've been feeling this way for a while, because this is usually a feeling of hopelessness, and we don't want anybody in a state of hopelessness. Yeah. All right, Taurus. What do you need to be aware of this full moon? The Priestess. I would say you might have actually heightened intuition or spiritual experiences this eclipse. And maybe it's that grand earth trine that's just helping, you know, the best side of this come out for you. You might have really strong dreams. You might have flashes and visions of clairvoyance. You might suddenly get strong insight and know deeply what something's about, or who's what, or what you need to do next. You might get a flash of, what's to come in your life or people close to you. Depends how psychic you are, how open you are, but this could be an opening during this eclipse for you. All right. Geminis. Yeah, like Aries, you're going to need to be careful of dark moods or that of those around you. But this is in a different way. The Aries was Saturn in Pisces, so that's more like somebody who's feels so much for the world that it gets them down, or takes on everybody else's emotions so much that they can't float and they can't even see their own energy versus the other person's. For you, this is different. This is more of a mental thing where you just mentally want to shut down on something because you cannot revisit this anymore. You can't think straight on something anymore. And it might feel like a defeat. It says ruin. It's usually like a point before there's a true surrender and a true letting go. Because it's swords and it's the 10. It means there is no more way that you can think your way through whatever this is. You must go to the emotional and the physical and the spiritual realms to solve your problem. You can't outrun it by thinking. And that's why it's not fun, but it's positive if you were ready to surrender and say, okay, everything I've read, everything I've done, every strategy I've tried, my way isn't working. This isn't working. So help. I need help. And be open to how other people would approach your life problem, because there's always a solution. So I don't find it's not fun, but it's not a bad card. Cancers. What do you need to be aware of for this eclipse? Success. Jupiter and Leo. I'm sort of feeling Cancer's having a bit of a happy dance right now. Something's sort of lifting for you. Mars in your sign is like giving you some energy back, some guts. It's emphasizing your sign. Maybe you feel like you are ready to take a little more of the spotlight or the stage or the place that you deserve. Yeah, so the only thing there is like not to get carried away with it. Like it's still whatever's kicking in or working out or coming back online for you is wonderful, but just, don't think, oh, it's forever, everything's all better now. Like it might be temporary, we don't know, it might be sustained, it might be the precursor to more, but just temper yourself, like not to get overexcited during the eclipse. But I get a really good feeling for you. You've moved on, or you've worked your way through something really difficult, and now like there's a true moving on. When Cancers let go, they glow and good things happen to you. So, all right, Leos. Well, what you need to be aware of is not a bad thing at all. It's Mercury and Sag, 8 of Wands, going quickly, optimism. Yeah, that's the only thing you got to be careful of. I think things are going well for you as well. Things are starting to pick up again. There's a bit of momentum again. But again, just with this eclipse, you need to just be careful not to get overexcited and too dreamy and unrealistic, or too impatient with things going fast, fast, fast. But I get a feeling there's some excitement for you. And maybe sometimes this is a card of traveling too. It doesn't have to be long travel, but it might be. And again, like good exchange of ideas with people. You might finally just be going like, oh God, finally it's something's, I've been working for this and it's finally working. And you're like, yes, let's do it. Go, go. But other people are going to be like, that's a little too fast. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, not like they're blocking you, but it's just be aware if you're like getting overexcited, almost like a kid on sugar, or a dog with the zoomies. Yeah, that's actually a good analogy. I think like for Leo, you're like a dog with the zoomies right now. Boom, 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 and it's like, not everyone's at your pace. We're just going to watch you run, till you get tired, and then we'll talk to you. Oh, that's funny. Okay, Virgos. What should you be aware of? Okay, no. Princess of Swords. For you during this eclipse, you need to know that you or someone close to you who is struggling, probably combative attitude. Ooh, attitude. Making problems for themselves where there might not need to be any by provoking things, being very, very defensive. So you could be that, or it could be someone close to you. You have to really be careful of that. Just because if it's someone around you and you don't have to directly deal with them, I would suggest laying low. If you know this person well and you know how to tame them, then awesome. If it is you, you should err on the side of like pull back and lay low, rest, get your head centered a bit here. Make sure that you're not saying or being defensive, like we said, or really crabby or poking the bear, because there will be consequences for that linger. It's not like a one-off. You can't just call someone out and expect it to be fine forever after. They can come back and bite you down the road. So yes, Virgo, you have to be careful of that side. And if it's in someone else, like I said, if you don't have to, I would lay low from that, because that's usually somebody who's just on a mission, like a self-destructive type of mission. All right, Libras. That's nice. Ace of Wands. What do you need to be aware of? You're going to have some high energy, my friends. That Venus-Jupiter trine is good for you. You might be like really in a bit of a dynamo thing. You might be like whirlwinding your way through all of your tasks and more social engagements. You might just have a burst of fire, of energy, of passion. You might be really tired after, but you're going to feel like, I think it's going to make you feel almost like electrified. And yeah, I think in a good way. I think you're going to feel great during this eclipse, actually. It's the next one in your sign that might be a little tougher on October 2nd. But I haven't looked at that chart. So, until we get there, don't worry about it. Right now, like, if this is giving you a will, a passion, a fire, then enjoy it. Enjoy it. Scorpios. What do you need to be aware of during this eclipse? Oh, the King of Pentacles. There's some jokes flying around on Instagram saying, we don't say King of Pentacles, we say Sugar Daddy. I don't like Sugar Daddy energy for the girl or for him. But he is well off. Usually he's stable. He's got land or property or investments. He's got animals here. He's very guarded, as you see. How much armor do you actually need? And a club. Nobody can get near this guy. So it asks me to ask you, is there someone in your life that is just impenetrable to get close to? And hopefully that's not you. And if it is, then it's time to remove some armor, drop the baton, put down the shield, take off the helmet, Let somebody, you know, if it's not you, then it's easy for you to see this in someone else around you who's just become so armored and guarded that nobody can get in. But if it is you, then it's you who has to dismantle some of these layers to let somebody else in. It's not enough to just tip back your mask and receive some sunlight on your face. It's really not enough. You know, you're going to need more connection and more color and more life than that, no matter how much you've accomplished or accumulated. What a message that was. Well, it is for Scorpio after all. Sagittarius. Ah, we've got the Prince. What do you need to be aware of here? Well, basically self-indulgent, lazy bum kind of energy. Could that be you? Have you been slacking? Could that be people in your environment where you work or people that you're close to? Somebody not paying the bills or not pulling their weight? Somebody inflating their abilities or taking credit for other people's work? That kind of guy, you know? Yeah, he thinks he's got it all under control, but he really doesn't. And so looks like he's got all of this wealth or power or all these resources in his hands, but he doesn't look like he's really stepping up to do much with it. He's too busy partying almost. So you have to ask yourself who the heck that could be. And if it's you, I would suggest like you sort of need to like sober up after the party kind of energy, like bring yourself out of whatever you're in and like let's just refocus and get things done and regroup, refocus yourself. Otherwise, if it's someone you're dealing with, that's what they need to do, but that's not your job to make them do it unless they're your son or your employee or your, you know, your husband, and you got to deal with that trait all the time. They need some discipline and boundaries, some willpower, and they're going to grumble. Capricorns, what do you need to be aware of for this eclipse? Five of Cups. So emotional disappointments, feeling betrayed, feeling, yeah, sorry, that word just popped out of my mouth before I even thought to say it. Mars and Scorpio, you feel sort of betrayed. You're dealing with a lot of heavy emotions, including feeling betrayed or abandoned, or like your passion was given and it was unrequited. It was not reciprocated or appreciated. Your trust was given and it was not appreciated or respected. So you're evaluating on an emotional level right now, which makes sense as perhaps part of your Pluto's last hurrah in your sign. If that's the case and you're feeling this way, you must ask yourself, because it's the last degree of Capricorn, you need to move on to the next chapter of your life, and you need to forgive or let go or understand at a deeper level than you have previously, so that you're able to move on and not stay in that stuck feeling of being jilted or rejected or betrayed or whatever happened to you. Of course, you never deserved it if that's the case. And yeah, you're really diving deep and digging in so emotionally right now. And it's really important that you do, so that, like we said, you can start fresh when it goes into Aquarius and feel like that was another incarnation. That life is done. I've learned it. It doesn't mean it's going to repeat. I can still find the friendship, the love that I want. I can still change my life. It's never too late until you're in the grave. All right. Aquarius. Ooh, the Fool. That's very nice. Very nice. I like that. So for you, I think this eclipse could bring you some sense of a vision going forward. The Fool is the birth of a chapter. It's the call to action. It's the sense of a mission, of a higher purpose, of a, I know what I want now. That's what I'm going to do. In a very profound way that is, you know, lasting. It's not a fleeting brainstorming idea that changes. It's like you get something strong enough that you want it and you will work for it and you latch onto it and you begin the journey towards it. So for you, I think the, because you know, the, just trying to think of the planets where it falls for you, Aquarius. I mean, the moon and Neptune thing is in your second house. You might want to just be careful financially right now with your big dream and your next plan. You might want to just be careful not to splurge on anything just yet, but I like the feeling of a strong vision going forward. Yeah, and you're going to feel that fairly quickly once Pluto leaves the sign, you know, in late November. And finally, Pisces, what do you need to be aware of for this eclipse? King of Swords. Someone around you, very bright, very clever, very good with their words, very charming, good in their field. I feel you need to be a little careful of this person, though. Remember we said, you know, you especially right now, you've got Saturn close to your sign, in your sign, and you've got the moon and Neptune in your sign. And this is exactly the kind of guy I was talking about. Okay. And that could be anyone from a date to, I don't care. You just met somebody's brother and you think, oh, stars in your eyes. Or it could be a new supervisor or somebody that is a specialist or a lawyer you have to hire. And you just think they are it. And they are just absolutely it. The most wonderful, slick, brilliant, charming thing you've ever met in your life. It's going to change your life. And he's not. The King of Swords is cold emotionally, and you are not. He's good because he can just surgically cut through whatever and not feel it. That is not Pisces. So just caution yourself if this guy is around you. Anybody who seems really super charming. Anybody that you can admit to yourself that you're admiring or putting on a pedestal. They likely do not deserve it. Some of you, I might be wrong. You might find such a guy. But a lot of it you've got to be careful right now under this eclipse. So the eclipse could show you who this person is. And you've got to do your best to, you know, believe them when they show you, just like Maya Angelou says. When people show you who they are, believe them. It's hard for all of us when we feel we've met people or situations that seem to meet these needs we've been going for, chasing after for so long, and then you find a fit. And of course, none of us wants to go, oh crap, that's a narcissistic sign right out of the gate when you're all excited and hoping this could be the thing. But it's when you ignore the red flags that we get into trouble. So try your best. If someone is showing you who they are right now, don't ignore it. Take that Virgo energy and just write it down. And remind yourself so that you're not seduced into something. I don't care whether that's a financial advisor, some online coach, or a guy who says he's going to marry you. Be cautious right now. All right. So one more time, I'm just going to show you my book. And if you're interested to hear the interview, I'm going to put the link down below, but I will also put it up on YouTube shortly. And then I'm going to have a book signing in Montreal the end of October at Chapters Indigo. That'd be the 26th. I'll announce that closer to the dates again too. And you can order it anywhere, Amazon, Chapters, Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you see this. All right, have a good experience. Be safe, be centered.